Unfortunately, on Monday, we lost a good one. But I feel like we can even say we lost the bad guy. He was the best. He was the best, like the coolest bad guy there ever was. Right? I think he like created that it's cool to be a bad guy thing, right? Am I wrong? I might be wrong.
You just messed me up because I thought after you said "It's the bad guy," you were gonna go into
That's
intro video.
that's what I was gonna do. But then you gave me a look, so I was like, let me make sure Casey got his stuff in.
That was the perfect time to do it, and you messed it up. You done goofed.
You done
You
goofed.
done goofed.
You done goofed.
Now
I
you
do hate
can't
it
do
though.
it.
I just I just it's a sad situation, but it's cool to see all the tributes and stuff, and of course we'll be able to. Hopefully, I'm gonna try to go through scour Twitter a little bit and show you guys some of the things people are saying out there. But the wrestling world was definitely shaken up by the loss of the bad guy. Welcome in to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, I mean always, he means always, they mean always, you mean always, she means always, an instant classic.
Danny Dunn! Hi, Jake.
We will see you on the flippity dippity. Oh yeah.
It was perfect though, right? I said it just right, and I was about to hit it, and then Casey was like, "Well, let me add this in real quick," and then I was like, "Okay," but anyway, what's going on, good people? Back with somber news, of course, and a little bit. I really hate doing these videos. I do, right? Because I feel like they all hit different, and it just feels like this one was unexpected, but then it was at the same time. It happened over the course of a couple of days where it just like it was almost like it's gonna happen, but maybe there's a miracle. Let's see. And then we kind of got the news. This is our remembering Scott Hall, at least the short version of such. Maybe we'll see how short it goes. DJ here, Casey over there, talk about our kind of favorite Scott Hall memories. Died at the age of 63, which I think is longer than a lot of us thought, given his original, his circumstances before, DDP came in and practically saved his life, and what DDP has done to plenty of wrestlers, and former wrestlers as a service to the entire community. But I mean, I think Scott Hall also kind of raised awareness for the substance abuse issue that we've seen in wrestling for a while. We've seen this as an issue for such a long time, and at least to have somebody have your back like DDP, but also at the same time, like to see that you can come out of it, I think is a story of perseverance from Scott Hall's point of view too, right? Scott Hall was a pioneer in the wrestling ring, but I think at the same time he also showcased that kind of perseverance that I think all wrestlers, especially the way they work now and as long as they work, also need to exhibit to and be able to, take from. This one, they all suck. They really do. Scott Hall was one. Just an absolute legend, the iconic Ayo every time. I think everybody, and it got to a point where you just kind of waited on it when he would come out and cut a promo. And I mean, I'm kind of still at a loss for words. You kind of do what you can to do your own little tribute. You play with him on the game. You watch his entrance. You watch, the iconic ladder match, right? You watch the match against 1-2-3 Kid. You watch the introduction of the NWO. But it just, I feel like it always tends to seem different once that day has come, and this one I think lingered a little bit just because he had the 3 heart attacks the day before, and then was on life support, and I think this one lingered a little bit, but at the same time I think your little inkling of hope was like maybe come on, we can pull through on this one, right? But unfortunately, we did lose Scott Hall on Monday, and I think I mean, I would honestly even say like all of the wrestling community is hurting on this one. Like probably the guys who didn't even like him, and I don't even think there's a small camp of those guys. Casey, how are you feeling? Any favorite memories you want to throw out there? Just how are you feeling after the news we got on Monday? And it was also weird too because it felt like it was never really confirmed per se, right? Like it was, but it wasn't. Like it was one of the like it was almost like it was kind of out of order the way it was. Like I think we was all expecting it, but then like it almost felt like it just like before it was even like confirmed. I think somebody even said this on Twitter before it was even really confirmed. It felt like WWE had put something out. I think it was, and maybe that was the first people that were called. I don't know, but it was just kind of interesting how the news came out too, because I think like it, even though we were kind of waiting in anticipation and not good anticipation, I think at the same time we felt like kind of shell shocked when it did when the news finally came out. Casey, jump in here, and how are you feeling about everything, and what's going through your mind, and memories you want to share, and all that good stuff.
Well, first of all, Justin's in the chat talking about the NCAA tournament, because that's important right now.
He's
I don't
supposed to
know.
be here, by the way. He's supposed to.
Yeah, he is supposed to be here. And he posted Iowa, of course. I really wish Adam was here, because Adam and I are the older members of the podcast, so I feel like we have more kind of connection to Scott Hall, to Razor Ramon, because we grew up, watching wrestling in the early to mid 90s. We watched, during the Monday Night Wars. We were there when
Sorry, hit the wrong button.
we were there when NWO was formed. We firsthand saw all this stuff. And he and I we'll obviously, when we finally get him on, because I'm sure we'll have a longer discussion about Scott Hall, because I know he wants to have a longer in-depth discussion about Scott Hall. But we'll go so much more in depth about it, because we are such big fans of his. There was just something about Scott Hall, and I was talking to Adam yesterday about it, and I was telling him, like, growing up, I wasn't necessarily a big Scott Hall fan, but there was something about him I always had to watch. Whether it was his matches, I always had to watch. His promos, I always had to watch. Something about him.
Was it because he was going against Shawn Michaels and you hate Shawn Michaels? Like, was that?
Yes, that was exactly it.
Makes sense.
There was something about just the way he talked, the way he delivered promos, whether it was Razor Ramon, whether it was Scott Hall. Adam was saying, and you watch his matches, and everything he did made sense. Everything from a psychology point made sense. There was nothing that was out of place. He didn't mind putting people over. He didn't care if he was, doing a job, because he was doing what was best, for what was for the storyline or whatever. As
1,
far
2, 3
as,
Kid is a good little indication of that. He kind of put him on the map by letting him go over when Razor was a star even at that point.
Exactly. And there's all these stories about, and this was more the click than anything, having backstage politics and being in Vince's ear and all that stuff, but he was actually a really cool dude. From everything that I've ever, and people that I personally know that have met him have said he was a stand-up guy. If they were at shows with him, he would, talk to them about their matches. He would critique their matches. He would give them advice, tips, things like that. And he had such a mind for the business too. Um, and one of my a promoter that I work for posted about the time that he was on Jerry Springer, and literally there were two kids who had AIDS, and he came on. They were big fans of him. He literally gave them the Intercontinental title, not a replica, like the actual WWF Intercontinental title. Like, such a good dude. As far as the past couple days, it has been such a roller coaster. It still hasn't hit me yet. It's still not real to me yet. Um, we heard all of a sudden that he had 2 or 3, heart attacks. And then, they were putting him on life support. The other day, I think it was Monday, they took him off of life support when his family got there. They took him off, I think it was at 11 a.m. I saw reports at 3 p.m. that same day he was still alive. He was still, fighting. So that was our little glimmer of hope. Hey, maybe he might pull through. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And the crazy thing about this is, like you said, he turned his life around with the help of DDP. He was in a very bad place before DDP stepped in and saved his life. I think if before DDP stepped in, if this happened and he unfortunately passed away, it would be sad, but it wouldn't be a surprise. I think, and Adam and I were talking about this, it was such a surprise because he had turned his life around. He was clean. He was doing so good. And this was because he had a hip replacement surgery, and just a freak blood clot got loose and caused the heart attacks. And that's what, it wasn't drugs, it wasn't alcohol, it wasn't anything like that. Of course, obviously over the years, damage from those substances, I'm sure, didn't make anything better, but he was doing so good. And then this happens, and it's like, I think that's why it's hitting people so hard, because he was doing so well. And like you were saying, the love and support that people, I remember a while back we were talking about when Piper died. Was he the last one a big name that passed?
I think it was Piper.
Yeah. And I remember there were so many posts about him. There were so many more, I feel like, for Scott Hall. I was going through Facebook, through Instagram, through Twitter. Literally every other post, if not every post, was about Scott Hall. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. It was crazy. So.
Yeah, and I think too, like, talking about the transformation and everything, like he looked good too. I remember, what was it, 2014 when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and of course when he got inducted with the NWO too, like, he just looked completely different. Like, there was a point where he physically just looked rough. Like, he just looked like everything had taken its toll. And kind of like you said, if the unfortunate circumstances of him passing would have happened back then, I think, of course, it would have hurt, but at the same time, like you said, it wouldn't have been necessarily surprising, just because, given his history. But to think that he had gotten clean and gotten better, and it felt like he was happier too. He was happier being in his right mind, happier being able to be happy, be with his family, be with his friends. And it just you just hate to see it. And I definitely agree. I think he definitely got the for better or worse, the cool bad guy over. Like, he was the guy that was like, he had that, they always say that machismo, he always had, kind of, he was always one of those guys who just had that kind of, he just had that swagger about him, especially as a wrestler. Like You Believe, that character. I remember somebody was, I can't remember who it was, and it may have been in our chat. I can't remember right off, but somebody was telling me, that Hispanic fans liked him because they thought he was Hispanic because he just fit that role. He kind of fit that, Chico, that kind of, that role so well, and he made it believable, which we talked about that before, how that's missing in wrestling, the believability of it, and especially with a guy like Razor, you believed it. Then speaking of believable angles, you go to the NWO, they kept quiet because there was no internet back then, so luckily for them. But at the same time too, like, to keep that a secret, not tell anybody, make it into this believable angle. There was a believability of it. You could tell that he was, passionate about it. And going back to that Hall of Fame speech that of course everybody has quoted throughout the last couple of days, you could see his passion. You could see it in his eyes. Every time he came out, it was like he had the crowd in the palm of his hand. I remember they did that thing with the NWO, not way back when, but recently, and he hit the AO, and everybody's just waiting on it. They're like, okay, it's coming. I'm here for it. I'm here for and then everybody at the sound of that beat could just boom, go with him, and it sucks. And I kind of agree with you. I feel like it hasn't necessarily hit me yet either. I don't think. Of course, I was a little young in the '90s, so I didn't get to necessarily see everything Razor did. But at the same time, I've watched the Monday Night War documentary 8 million times, and playing in my mind rent free is you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. Like that's, it's just like every time I think of Scott Hall, I think of that line. I think of those, especially a lot of those NWO lines, and of course the ladder match. You think of that. It just it definitely sucks, and a guy who's a legend, who's going to be remembered, and I think this one hurts, and I don't know when it's going to kick in. To be honest, I think Roddy kind of kicked in pretty quick. I think some of the other guys kicked in pretty quick, and this one, I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to take this one to kick in, because we hadn't seen him in a while, right? We hadn't necessarily seen him in a while. We hadn't heard too much about him lately. So maybe that's what it was. We just, he's kind of out of sight for a little bit. So, the surprising news kind of catches you off guard. And, I think with a lot of these deaths too, you're kind of like, nah, that's nah. But it's definitely sad. Of course, prayers up to his family and everybody who's affected, which is a lot of people, right? Is a lot of people. Everything I've seen, and he was so influential. Like if I had no idea about wrestling, and I saw the trending hashtag of RIP Razor Ramon, I feel like I would at least know Razor did a lot for this business, right? Like I would learn that from just that one hashtag that we've seen trend over the last couple of days. What it do? What it do? Appreciate you coming by.
Well, and I think also, we've mentioned this in the past with like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hogan, things like that. I think that Scott Hall is also a name. I think even more so necessarily than Ramon, where non-wrestling fans, there's a chance that they remember that name, from
Yeah.
because I don't think, especially like the younger fans now, I don't think they understand how big pro wrestling was in the like late 90s. Whether you were a fan or not, the Monday Night Wars were so big and the Attitude Era was so big that you kind of you knew about these names. You heard these names. What even if you weren't a wrestling fan, you heard about Hogan. You've heard about Scott Hall. You've heard about Stone Cold Steve Austin. You've heard about The Rock.
Yep.
So I think that makes it even bigger. It's like, oh, I could see, fans or non-wrestling fans just remembering his name just from like, oh, I've heard of that guy before, and then clicking on, the hashtag or whatever, and kind of, seeing that stuff. But and as far as like kicking in, I don't know that it will, at least for me, because and it might be because we hadn't seen them so as much, to me, I almost half expect to see Piper at a convention, even though, I know he's gone, still doesn't feel like he's gone
Yep.
fully. Same with Dusty. Now, same with Scott Hall. I think it's hitting me harder with Scott Hall because I was so like intrigued by him. From, again, like I said, from the way he cut promos to the way he worked in the ring, down to like his ring gear from when Razor Ramon with like the different colors and like the razors all over it, to the Scott Hall stuff. I loved his gear with like the kind of like the blood dripping down.
Yeah.
There was something about him that like I had to watch. I couldn't not watch.
Yep, I agree. Shout out to Miley for coming by. I searched one as well who said what it do. By the way, if anybody wanted to know, that is SIRCH1. The not the number one, but spell it out one. But I think he has a channel if I'm not mistaken. But Miley says sad indeed. I remember Scott Hall as being a part of a tag team with Kurt Hennig and AWA, which I think a lot of people forget that too. Adam had mentioned that. Appreciate you coming by the way. Adam had mentioned that too, his time with Kurt Hennig and everything. Yeah, I don't I think it's one of those things too where it doesn't feel like it kicks in. It doesn't really feel like it, especially now, because it's not like, I think we went through a period of time where it was current wrestlers, and that was hard. I think those kick in a little bit quicker because you're used to seeing them every week. And then of course some of the legends, they kind of step away for a little bit. At the same time, it hurts, but it's just like one of those things where it's just like it just takes. I think it takes a minute to kick in, or it doesn't. Just because, like you said, they had been away for so long, they'd already carved their legendary path, and either entered in or went into the Hall of Fame and everything. But any final thoughts? Of course, like we said, we're gonna try to catch up with everybody else to talk a little bit more about Scott Hall and everything. Hopefully we'll get to catch up with everybody. Appreciate everybody who came by too, and giving their thoughts. Be sure in the comments to leave your favorite memory. I'm trying to start that trend. Leave your favorite memory of Scott Hall. I'm trying to start that trend. In the comments. On the Twitter, whatever. I'm trying to start that trend. But definitely going down memory lane is always fun. It's always fun to go down memory lane, not necessarily in this regard, but at the same time, it puts things into perspective. I think, to lose a legend in the business, it sucks, and it kind of like reminds you of like this like not new era that we're in, but at the same time, like how long ago the Attitude Era was, even though it feels like at times it was yesterday. Too, like it's like these guys are legends and retired and doing good, most of them, and it's just it's kind of crazy to think about, that we used to watch these guys in their prime, and they were the stars, they were the guys that they were the guys who influenced Casey to become an independent wrestler, and who influenced me to to watch more and be a fan of this and do this podcast. So it's just kind of it's amazing how that kind of puts it into perspective. But any final thoughts?
Not much. I definitely want to do a more in-depth conversation about Scott Hall with at least with Adam, because I know there was a lot that he wanted to talk about too. So I don't want to go too in depth in it on
Right.
this, but kind of get at least get our initial thoughts out, and then we'll do another one with him hopefully soon. He unfortunately walked into a shitstorm at work, and I told him just to walk out. Like, you walked in, you just walk out. There's an exit, just walk out.
You just got, you just close the stall up, you flush it, and you head out of there. You head out of there.
Yeah.
Like just wash your hands first, but you head out of there. Head out.
Exactly. You leave it. Leave it. The janitor get it later. That's his job. That's his job. He get it. He get the plunger. He get the snake. Get it in there. But yeah, we're gonna do another one with Adam, hopefully soon, so we can
Yep.
go in depth. And rather than doing a half an hour video, it'll probably be like a 2-hour video, because
We're
that's what
going.
we do.
We gonna go. We gonna go for the rest of life. For life. So that's how we gonna do it.
Yeah,
just
we're
forever.
never gonna stop the recording. It's just
Forever street. But as always, hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments, your memories. Anything you want to say about Scott Hall. Be sure to put it out there. So and we'll get back to you, of course, too, and have a little conversation. But as always, hope you guys enjoyed. Appreciate Casey for coming by. He's on the other side. But anyway, appreciate Casey for coming by. DJ, I came by. You guys came by. Molly came by. Search One came by.
I want to thank Adam for coming by. Oh wait, I want to thank Justin for. Oh wait.
Right. But anyway, as always, this has been the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, and I mean always, an instant classic. And this one, little short one for the bad guy.
We're gonna see you on the flippity dippity.
It was perfect. And this man, this is why, like, nice.